Hello everyone, and welcome to another review video where I go over the work I did this week and do some self-critique. As we know, self-critiquing your work is crucial to improvement, and it's important to continually challenge and develop your skills. I've also come to realise that these videos are also a look into the journey I have taken so far. Hopefully by sharing my own experiences, I can inspire and motivate other self-learning artists out there who are also just doing their best to try and improve their skills. This week I challenged myself to draw a head from reference but change up the hairstyles by using a separate reference for the hair. And what I wanted to do was to work on design and being able to use a reference without having to draw exactly as it appears. To be able to make those adjustments without falling off the rails. So let's see how we went this week. The first one is a bit sloppy. I think I messed up the proportions of the head a bit compared to the reference. In fact, if I line up the eyes like this, I can see where I've cut off the top and flattened the head a bit too much. But the surprising thing to me is how much I moved the profile from the mouth downwards. For some reason, that's actually shifted quite a lot. I think this shows that I'm still learning and still making mistakes, and that's alright. I think these might be common errors too, because I see them a lot in beginners' works as well, which is fine. It's something to be aware of and keep working on. It's no big deal. It's just part of the journey of learning to draw. I think I represented the hair a bit better, and I think I was able to get the spirit of the hairstyle down. It took a lot of observation into how I thought the hair would sit on his head, and I had to approach it from the perspective that I am creating this hairstyle for this person as if he walked into the hairdressers with a picture of what he wanted. I can say that it did use a bit more brain power than just copying the reference as it is, which is good. We're learning to design something. On the second day, I tried to combine this fellow with this hairstyle. I think the result is kind of okay. If I look at it on top of the reference, I can see where I misjudged where the ear is located, and I think that it makes the head and jaw a lot wider than it should be. It is quite noticeable, but the profile itself isn't too bad. I probably could have positioned the eyes a little better as it is a bit off, but other than that, I think I did an okay job of getting the new hairstyle on his head without too much issue. I mean, I guess the head really is a lot wider than it should be, but, you know, we're learning, we're making mistakes. Day 3's reference was a big challenge. The hairstyle is very different to the reference, and I had to decide which side of the hair was going to be clipped back and how that would make the hair fall on her shoulders. Also ran out of room on the page and really didn't represent the length or volume as well as I think I could have, and that goes back to the problem I have of drawing heads too big on the page to start with and then running out of room. It's an ongoing problem that I have to work with. Apart from that, apart from some minor areas, I think this was actually probably the most like the reference that I have drawn the head so far. I think the positioning of the eyes, the nose and the ear and the head shape is more accurate than the last 2 days, which is good. I think the hair just needs a little more space to create volume. Otherwise, I think this would have been a really good exercise. Probably not the best drawing because it really, you know, it's as a drawing itself, it's pretty plain. As an exercise of making new hair on a reference, I think it turned out kind of okay. Day 4 was so much fun. I don't care if it's not accurate. I just thought this combination of head and hair was funny, and I really had a lot of fun exploring how this was turning out at the time. I did make some errors in the head, and you can see I widened the head and flattened it out a little bit too much, almost as if I changed the camera lens. But I also messed up this particular person's facial proportions between the eyes, nose and mouth. If you remember, I was trying to fit those features onto the face, and I was having trouble getting them in the right proportions, as I would make the nose a little bit too long and then things would just start to keep getting longer. But in this case, I think I might have shortened the nose a little bit too much, and it could have been just a tiny little bit more length, which means the mouth is a bit too high compared to the reference, and I needed to lower the chin just a tiny fraction. And it's really frustrating to know that just a tiny difference can make a huge impact on the overall proportions. But I still like this, and it is one of my favourites for this week. I almost forgot about day 5. The last page for the week, and I admit I got the look of this person wrong. I could feel the likeness slipping away, and honestly at the time I just decided to go with it instead of being disappointed in myself. So I created a new person based on the reference, and he's slightly different and has a new hairstyle. So if we actually analyse what went wrong, I think we will find that I miscalculated the angle and I made the far eye, a little too wide. Everything else was so close. You can see how just the smallest deviation makes a huge change in how the face appears in the end. If only that far eye wasn't so far out. I think as for the hairstyle, I actually think that it suits him. And I was pleasantly surprised at how I was able to fit the hairstyle from the reference onto this head at this angle. And I've got to say that I think this is actually my second favourite drawing for the week. So with all that, what did I learn this week? Well, I learned that I still have a long way to go before I am confident and I can represent the reference as it is without making those small deviations. My hand-eye coordination and interpretation needs some more work, and that will probably be the thing that will take the longest to learn, to be honest. But I am making small improvements over time, so if you are struggling with something similar, you're not alone, and I'm sure we can get to a place where we can do better as long as we just don't give up. The other thing I learned this week is to use a reference as a reference and not something I have to copy exactly, which kind of goes against what I just said about not being able to copy the reference. But hear me out, because I think that being able to do both is what's important. To be able to just copy a reference and draw what is there, and also to be able to make those decisions when it's time to use just the spirit of the reference and be able to mold it for your own use. Both skills are incredibly important and hard to master. So I think this week I did make some progress with that. So with that said, I hope this video has given you some insight or has helped in some way. I encourage you to keep going and exploring different ways to draw and take your time. Be kind to yourself when it gets frustrating, because it's during those times where we might be able to learn the most. So let's keep drawing, keep learning, and with that we can keep getting better at it. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next Monday with another video. Bye.